Okay, coming off of a crap week, we may as well talk about something that everybody is kind of looking at as also being a giant piece of crap. Boy. So we did a Supergirl review when I initially saw the movie. And it's like I said, it didn't move the needle. Two steps forward, well, one step forward, two steps back in regards to James Gunn's DCU. But there's a larger narrative that really needs to be discussed in regards to not only Supergirl, but the direction that a lot of the future films in the DCU are going to take. I don't know how many bullet points they're going to be, to be quite honest, but I think the major one is the copying of James Gunn's style. I understand you came in as director and you wanted to impress James Gunn, so you decided to borrow from Guardians of the Galaxy. And on paper, that's a really good decision. It's a really good choice. In regards to the MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 through 3 are probably, I would say, quite literally, outside of the Captain America films, the most stablest of trilogy movies. Guardians of the Galaxy 1, classic. Number 2, great. Number 3, absolutely fucking fantastic. Um, Stealing his style, the way in which he shoots things, the fact that he goes for a blander color palette and then switches it up with a more brighter color palette to really enhance certain scenes, using indie rock and indie pop to basically highlight certain types of scenes. It's a winning formula, and it's a formula that James Gunn uses to great effect. The problem is you're not James Gunn. And that's going to have to be something that a lot of the future directors for the DCU have to realize. James Gunn's style only works if you're James Gunn, because it is his je ne sais quoi. You know, he understands his own secret sauce because he's the one who made the secret sauce, and he's been perfecting that secret sauce for probably like the last 30 years. Attempting to copy that style is always going to be, in my opinion, a recipe for disaster, because there's always going to be something in some way, shape, or form that's lacking. James Gunn's secret sauce works extremely well because he is actually a talented writer who cares a lot for the characters that he brings to the big screen. I know a lot of the time it annoys people because they're like, why are we doing Peacemaker? Why are we doing Creature Commandos? Why is Rick Flag here? But at the end of the day, James Gunn is able to write these characters in an extremely compelling way that gets you hooked to whatever it is that you're watching. You watch the entirety of 2 seasons of Peacemaker, and before Peacemaker came out, 93% of y'all didn't even know who that character is. Exact same thing for the Guardians of the Galaxy. A major majority of people had no clue who the Guardians were until the Guardians movies came out and ended up being in their top 10 of all-time Marvel films. Um so that's number one. That is the major issue that I feel a lot of the DCU directors and producers who are coming in to helm these projects in regards to certain characters are going to have to tackle. Upside is the Clayface thing looks great. It seems as though they are going in their own route completely. They're going full on horror and body torture and body horror and body modification type of stuff, and that's good. That gives Clayface its own identity. This is where we actually rub up on number 2, which is the adaptation of really popular stories, but changing so much of the story's narrative that it can really no longer be looked at as an adaptation, and it's more of a bastardization of the source material, which is if you were to go and read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow and then go and watch this film, you would literally look around and go, where's all the color? Where's the space Pegasus going warp speed through the galaxy with Supergirl on its back? Where's the yellow fields and the red fields and the orange sky with the purple pinkish clouds? Where's the fantasy feel of the book? Because that is exactly what it is. It is a fantasy feeling of the book. Like Krem, I already said that I loved him as a villain. He's so much better of a villain in the original comics because he looks like a Robin Hood type character. He looks like the type of character that you would expect to essentially be the hero of the entire series. But instead, he's vain, he's arrogant, he's cruel. He feels as though he should be the center of the universe, and he detests the fact that Kara is gifted with all of these powers and abilities. And the journey that she goes on with Ruth is as much a journey of self discovery as it is a journey to heal Ruth and move her away from this self destructive path that Kara sees that she's on. Because Kara admits it towards the end. She was like, "Oh, I could have caught him like in the beginning, like no problem whatsoever. I could have snatched his ass up. But if I had done that, you wouldn't have been able to learn this lesson and you wouldn't have been able to essentially move on." Like Krem basically escaping by the skin of his teeth every single time, using the orb to teleport himself, getting his hands on the magical arrow so that he could injure Kara, finally being caught towards the end and expecting Ruth to basically kill him, and then Kara basically talks her down and is like, he's not worth it. Like he's pathetic. Like he's literally a pathetic worm, and like he's gonna die here anyway. Like there's no point in wasting your time or wasting your soul on killing somebody as pathetic and as cruel as him. Like the worst fate for him is to basically leave him here so that he can be forgotten because he doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter at all. What matters is what you choose to do with your life. Way better. Way better flow of the story than what we essentially got. What we essentially got is picking of certain pieces, then trying to like, I don't know, turn him and the Raiders into like 90s dystopian villains. Like you remember like that mad like late 80s early 90s Mad Max to Judge Dredd way in which they kind of did villains, where like the villains had like all these spikes and they were wearing like all this leather and their eyes were probably red, or they had like piercings in their face to make you understand that they're evil. No, if they went with a way more subtler approach to the character, you introduce the character as being like this extremely handsome Robin Hood type that seems as though he's the guy supposed to swoop in and save everybody, but instead he's like this nihilistic, narcissistic, like killer. You would get so much more of a reaction from the audience when he deceives them and you really see him for who he is, and as you chase him down you get to see just how insecure and pathetic he actually is than what you essentially got, which is the villain really isn't prominent in the movie. Like he isn't the tool that's moving the movie along, which is like this journey is to basically capture him. Instead, he's more or less just in the background. He pops up for like 2 or 3 minutes and then he's off again. Then he pops up again for 2 or 3 minutes, then he's off again. And that actually jumps into one of the next things about the film that I feel as though fell apart. Lobo. I I'm probably gonna say something that's gonna make a whole lot of people mad. I think we are 10 years too late for Jason Momoa's Lobo. And that's not saying that I didn't love his Lobo. I think his Lobo was absolutely fantastic. I think his Lobo was great. But he's kind of wasted in this film. Or the story that they give him in this film sucks. Because, in my opinion, what should have happened, instead of having Lobo go after like Krem's number two, like why is he hunting like the lieutenant? Like that's like if you were dropped into One Piece or you were watching One Piece and the person on the Go Mary who has the highest bounty is Sanji. And you're like, why are they after Sanji when Luffy's the captain? When Luffy's doing all this stuff? Or instead of Shanks having like the highest bounty and he's the warlord of the sea, it's his number two. I can't remember his name. The one with the gun that be chilling and be smoking all the time. Like he's the guy that like the Navy is after. It's like, well, why are you after him? His bounty is nowhere near mine. I'm a warlord of the sea. Like I'm sorry, not a warlord of the sea. That's disrespectful to Shanks. I'm an emperor of the sea. Like, why are you going after him? Like, what? Huh? It doesn't make sense. If you had decided instead to drop Lobo into the story, where Lobo is the expedient for Ruth to basically get her revenge, where she goes to Lobo because Lobo was also hunting Krem to basically bring Krem in because Krem is a bounty. And she knows that Kara isn't going to let her basically kill Krem, but Lobo might let her kill Krem. And as a direct result, there's some friction between the worldview of Kara and the worldview of Lobo, and they butt heads. And then they have to end up teaming up to maybe, I don't know, save Ruth because Ruth ends up getting captured. And then towards the end, when Ruth has the sword to his neck and she's going to kill him, and Kara talks her down, the person who walks up and kills Krem is Lobo, or the person who finally walks up and bags Krem to drag his ass off to like Supermax space prison and complete his bounty is Lobo. That's a better way to work Lobo into the story than the way in which they basically chose to work him into the story. Because the way they chose to work him into the story was like just it was hella fucking sloppy, man. It fucking sucked. And it sucks to see Jason Momoa wasted in such a way in a film that everybody is acting extremely well, but the story that they were essentially given and what was written just fucking sucks because they didn't go over the script, or I'd say run the script up to James Gunn and have James Gunn flip through the fucking pages to realize that, yeah, this doesn't work. This should probably flow with this. You should move this character over here. That doesn't work. So go ahead and get rid of it. Move this a little bit further inside the movie. Move this a little bit more towards the rear of the movie. Bring this character in right here. Move this character out of the thing completely. Make this family right here a bigger centerpiece of your film. The film just needed rework. It needed a little bit of restructuring, because what we essentially got is all of the actors showing up and giving their A game, and then the story not being able to support that A game and just losing people because it just became a little bit nonsensical, or I should say a lot of nonsensical towards the middle, and then really nonsensical towards the end. But what can you do? Um, this is a Thor Ragnarok type situation for Supergirl, where the source material is like fucking amazing. And if you played the source material with the level of seriousness that the original comics had, you would have had audiences eating out of the palm of your hands. But instead, you kind of turn that dial for comedy and humor a little bit too far to the right. And as a direct result, it was like 60% comedy and then 40% serious, when it probably should have been 70% serious and then 30% comedy, which is comedy being used during more lighter scenes to kind of break up the tension and bring people down from that high. And then you get hit with another serious scenes that pushes you back up to that high. Then comedy brings you back down again, or comedy kind of bridges the gap between one serious scene and another scene. But as it stands, the damage is already done. Um, I have nothing but complete faith that when we see Kara in Mana tomorrow, she's going to be absolutely fucking fantastic. Because like I said, Millie Alcock knocked it out of the park. Like, she's fantastic as Kara. I think she's going to be great. Like, what we've been seeing behind the scenes in regards to Mana tomorrow has also looked really fucking good. But it just kind of sucks that on her very first outing as Supergirl, like, they just did not give her the love and care that she fucking needed. But let me know what you guys think. Comment down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.